Hello, everybody. Welcome to another daily dose of gaming news and all that good stuff. And as always, I also publish on Rumble and on Patreon for extra support. Any kind of updates and as such, I usually go about on Twitter X. Later today, we will have demo gameplay. I think it's Chains of Freedom, if I remember correctly, the name of the game. Very interesting, kind of a mix between XCOM and Mutant Year Zero with some twists here and there. A pretty lengthy demo. It's good to see that they let players experience kind of the prologue. I think my gameplay session there was around 1 hour, almost 2 hours. Yeah, and yesterday I did manage to also publish a video regarding the stuttering of Expedition 33. I was experiencing this on my own. I recorded the first episode of that gaming series, and it was a stuttery mess. I thought it was my PC was not good enough or lack of optimization, and it seems that this solution that I present here is efficiently it's good enough for almost all Radeon GPUs or AMD GPUs, given that it is something that you can do at the driver level. I will let you check that video there. I already had a couple of comments saying that it resolved their situation also in their cases. Again, I'm not expecting 100% will solve every issue regarding the stuttering. There might be other troubleshooting that needs to be done depending on your GPU and what kind of settings and resolutions you're trying to play with. But yeah, for me, it did solve. I was recording yesterday, but I had a crash. But I think it's something very specific. But yeah, I still managed to recover the footage there, which is something good. Other than that, yeah, just a quick reminder: complete the gameplay series on the main page of the channel, and also I did manage to put a playlist for any kind of gaming tutorials or fixes. In the sense, if I eventually encounter any kind of issues with games, I will be posting in that playlist for sure. So let's go to the news, and we got something interesting coming from Ubisoft. Again, these guys from Ubisoft are really doubling down on the player stuff there instead of sales, because they announced that Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, has gone well over 2 million players. Again, the fact that we've been seeing here the players, again, it doesn't mean 2 million sales there, which I'm not sure if this game came out on Xbox Game Pass or something like that, or given that Ubisoft, I think it's Ubisoft Connect, something like that. It also has like a Game Pass system. I'm assuming that it's these players add that player 2 million players come out of those services also. So it doesn't mean that they sold 2 million copies, even though it seems that was the better game that they launched in the last couple of years at least. But yeah, they really did manage to try to make it seem that they sold 2 million copies, which is not the thing there. But even with this thing that this comment here from Ubisoft itself, saying that even you revived the legend, the priest is back, and believe us, we're just warming up. Again, they dismantled the studio that made this game, so I don't know how it will work out. Because again, as I mentioned, I think yesterday, the comments regarding teams in game development. Again, you cannot, you will not be able to assemble the same people that were working on this game, and I know recreate the same kind of game there or the same kind of magic, let's say, and produce a game at least at the same level in terms of quality and polish that this one. Even if you manage to assemble some of them, again, it's the same thing with any kind of team project. Again, when you dismantle that team, again, I assume some of them already manage in the meantime to get in new positions in other companies probably, and even if they are inside Ubisoft, I'm not sure. if they are able to start working there. But probably this will be passed on to another studio inside Ubisoft, and probably will not be at the same level. Might be better, you don't know. But again, this comes about the fact that they uh, um, I don't know, overestimate the sales for each project. Again, given that this project, the way the game it is, kind of a 2D Metroidvania kind of a game there, usually it is regarded as a more niche in terms of how we is going to behave in terms of sales. I don't know. They thought that they need to sell, I don't know how many million copies. Again, it didn't sell that not even 2 million copies since its launch. So that's why they basically uh, closed the studio there. But yeah, it's the overblown budgets for the projects that they have, and then you are basically mandated to sell huge amounts of sales to compensate the production costs of those games. But yeah, 2 million players instead of 2 million sales, and that is basically in contrast with Expedition 43, which sold at least so far 1 million copies in the first 3 days since it launched. Again, I start playing the game. I'm still on the beginning of the game. I basically wrap up the prologue, so I'm 3 hours in, give or take. So I still have a lot of stuff to play with. But yeah, the game itself is pretty good from what I experienced. Yeah, a lot of mysteries around that world. Again, the setup is very interesting, and the consequences of how you can think about it, the characters and the situations that they are, it's very interesting. But we've been seeing here and there some mods for Clair Obscur, and they are revolving around more about tweaking the engine in the files there of Unreal Engine 5 to again be better optimized. I'm not sure if I'm going to experiment with this one. Given this one, the enhanced Lumen mod is basically a configuration file that adds the Lumen trace mesh SDF's parameters, which help achieve more accurate lighting and reflection calculations at a cost of, again, they say around 2 to 4 frames per second. Again, so if you're playing around 100 frames, you will get 95, give or take. Again, it's not a huge cost, but it can be significantly in terms of performance. If you're reaching around that kind of a sweet spot between 60 frames, losing a couple of frames here and there might be an issue visually, because I think at this moment, especially if you have good hardware and you are able to play at minimum 4K 60, I think that's kind of the sweet spot to a certain point. Again, more than that is better, but the sweet spot for you to play any kind of game, at least for me, given the hardware that I have, is always reaching at least 4K 60. But yeah, this mod seems to try to improve a little bit the lighting that is on the environment, especially. I don't see a lot of, again, this is a small image for me. I don't see huge differences in the interiors, but then again, it's more about the shadows and the global illumination stuff there, which is usually what Lumen affects. But you can notice here, basically here is more realistic than the first image here, which is kind of bloom out in terms of the light. But yeah, it's one of those. And these mods usually, if they don't work, you just delete the file themselves, and everything goes back to normal. So usually there is no like big worries in installing these mods. Usually this doesn't get around on file saves and all that jazz, and usually doesn't tweak too much the settings themselves inside the in-game. It's more about the engine tweaks that they're trying to do in terms of parameters. But yeah, it's one more for you to try out, and this one is available on Access Mod. Then here, I've been covering the last couple of days, even though I'm not a huge fan of early access games. But this one seems to be cooking up to be an excellent game when it launches the full release, which is No Rest for the Wicked. And they had the Breach update, which is a huge update. That I think they were kind of on the quiet side, so they were working on this huge update. And here on Facts of Life, they got a kind of a breakdown of a lot of stuff that they got there. They even have a video that they made going about like the biggest changes and differences from the previous before and after the update is launched there. But yeah, even the article itself goes about in a lot of stuff here. Again, I'm paying a relatively kind of moderate attention to this. Again, I don't want to know too much about this game because it's one of those games when it's going on full release. I want to try it out, so I don't want to get too much spoil on everything this game has to offer before it comes out in full release. But yeah, they've been covering this game also on Factual Life, and it's always good to see that they are improving and taking feedback in account, and they are basically listening to the players slash customers. Then yesterday, I think it was yesterday, out of nowhere, Xbox or Microsoft announced that they're going to increase the console prices, and they will be eventually increase the game price as a standard to $80 around by the end of the year, from what I understand. And basically, this is a move after Nintendo Switch 2 was announced with all the pricing shenanigans and the game prices, which is it's too much. I think they are a little bit over their heads in a sense, thinking that again, but to a certain degree, people are justifying their increases or thinking that that is the best decision that they made, and because people are trying to from Nintendo Switch 2, from what I've been seeing, a lot of people are even complaining they don't have they want to pre-order it and can't pre-order the console. There seems to be some demand for the Nintendo. Again, uh, Nintendo for me is a little bit kind of a boutique kind of a thing. They're very niche on what they're trying to do. They usually try to do their own thing, which can be good or bad, because if they do something that it's perceived as very successful, the industry will follow up on their decisions there. And this is one of the cases here. In terms of the consoles themselves, some of them are increasing $100. Even the controllers and all that jazz is being ramped up in terms of price from $10 to a couple of dollars, it seems. Again, I'm not a console guy, and I made my opinion heard on X. It's very, I think, common sense. My take on consoles is supposedly to be an entry point, the hardware itself. So the consoles themselves is to be an easy entry point on gaming, which is something you buy it, that product or that hardware, and it's so easy that you just turn on and it works. And then basically it will serve as an entry point also for the customer to have access to their own library of games. And usually they console manufacturers compete themselves between them with exclusives, exclusive libraries from first-party deals, which is something that, strangely enough, Xbox is letting go to a certain extent. I'm assuming they will have uh, not always, but for some exclusivity in terms of time limits. But they are trying to expand their digital uh, footprint, let's say, or their games to other ecosystems. We already have basically the same date and launch on PC. When it launches on Xbox, they launch also on PC, and now they are starting to creep on, for example, on the PlayStation. Regarding Nintendo, I'm not sure how they're going to do that. But yeah, I don't think this might be good in a couple of trimesters in terms of the earnings, because people will, if they really want, they will buy it. But I don't think in the overall, especially how the economics work around this, given that supposedly it's something easy to be introduced, is as I said, you just pay the hardware, you arrive at home, plug to the internet and to the electricity, and you just push the button, everything works. You can start basically playing games, which is not exactly true. You have to download the game first, but yeah, you just turn on and start playing games basically, which is the concept of the fact that it is relatively easy to work with, and for that you have a cheap solution or alternative for PC gaming. PC DIY market is not that good, but if it starts to reach a psychological limit of, you see the Xbox Series X, for example, the 2 terabyte Galaxy Special Edition is already $730 to going to increase to that price. I started to see people just weighing the pros and cons, especially on Xbox, saying, okay, if all the Xbox games are on PC, and if for me to have to buy a decent console, let's say with good amount of space to have my games there, I'm spending $730. It's something that is going to be obsolete in the when the next generation comes. Might as well save a little bit more money, spend $1,000, and probably buy a PC. Maybe you can buy a decent PC to play around 1080p to 1440p gaming if you do the right research, and again, it gives you more work to be done, and then probably have to assemble the PC, but at least it is something that you can do a lot more than just play games. With a PC you can do productivity work on the side, so it's not something that you play games to a certain extent or watch some movies. You can do that the same thing on everything that you can do on a console. You can do it on a PC, and everything that you can do on PC you cannot do it on a console. And yeah, I think people will probably switch up to maybe start thinking, okay, if I'm going to spend this amount of money, might as well go to the PC platform, because, for example, on Steam, there is always some games that are on a deal. I don't need to spend $80 for a game. I can wait, start buying some games on a deal, older games that I did miss out, buy it on a sale for 90% off or 50% off. So instead of paying $80 for one game, I can pay $80 for 3, 4 games sometimes, and good games at that. And then I will increase my library and play games and wait a little bit more after the game comes out and enter on a sale a year after or something like that. Again, it just will only create this kind of mentality more and more, because in terms of consoles and even to a certain extent PCs, it's expendable income. It's not something that you need to pay every month. For example, housing and food, and pay bills, pay the car, and the fuel to go to work with, if you even can do that. And then you're just asking people to buy upfront a console that's now costing at least $700. Again, I'm not sure how it will reflect on the or medium term, even on the market itself, on the gaming. And also, I think, again, there's going to be a lot of justifications like they did here to a certain extent, increasing the prices. It's all about, at this moment in time, it's very convenient. It's the tariffs, or it's going to be because the economy, for whatever reason, behind tariffs or not. It's the justification they are going to use. But also another factor for sure, especially from Xbox and to a certain extent from PlayStation, which again, I think maybe in a couple of weeks they will also announce some. They already been quietly going up on prices, especially in Japan, on the consoles and the accessories there. I think we're going to see something also from a move from PlayStation, because these two big platforms, they, in the last couple of years, they wasted a lot of money on huge projects. For example, Concord on the PlayStation side of things. On the Microsoft, they have their own acquisition from Bethesda and the other studios associated below ZeniMax, I think it's called, the conglomerate there. Then they had Redfall, did not work very well. Starfield didn't work very well for them in terms of sales, and other games again that I'm not recalling out of the gate there. But again, a lot of even for example, South of Midnight is a more indie game. But again, a lot of games are being failing, and it's a lot of millions of dollars invested that they are not being recouped. And to make good on the investors and shareholders, they need to get the money from somewhere. And the easiest way for them to do that and the quickest way is just increase prices on their catalog of hardware and software. Because if they really want to turn the quality up of their games, uh, yeah, it will take time to reflect that on their own revenue. But yeah, this is not that doesn't look good for the customers. If you already have Xbox or PlayStation, you're at this moment safe for now. But by the end of the year, the prices are going to ramp up to $80 for games. At least that's what they want to do, and they are already warning people regarding that. Um, but yeah, again, I think PlayStation will also take a decision like this maybe in a couple of weeks because they are following the trend. Again, this also will be a justification on increasing the price or trying to arrange a justification for $80 till the end of the year. Because again, we all know GTA 6 is coming up supposedly by the end of this year, and people out of nowhere seem to be hyped up and making the narrative that all of a sudden because GTA is going to launch, it needs to be $100. I don't know where people are getting up this thing of $100 for a game. As I said, the best way of doing this is the counterpoint is reduce the resources that you need to use to low down the production costs for the games themselves. Don't increase in price because only a certain amount of people will be able to spend and want to spend $100 or even $80 for a game. And as a matter of fact, a lot of these games are more than $80 because when they launch, you add up the editions, deluxe editions, ultra deluxe editions, gold editions, diamond editions, whatever you want to call it. They're already above this price point, and they are trying to make it the new normal to justify the extra spending that they are going about and the waste that they're going about regarding production budgets of their own games, which we've been seeing a decrease in quality. And then again, to counterpoint that, we've been seeing like excellent games like Clair Obscur Expedition 33, to a certain degree, even Oblivion remake. It's a game that is at $50. It got a lot of indie games. Even Black Myth Wukong, I think it's $50 or something like that. So they are undercutting with a certain amount of quality and even on the price to make more sales. Because again, almost 90% of these games are sold digitally, so there is no expense of making the CDs or burning the DVDs, put it on the plastic box, seal it on containers, shipping those physical medias to other countries. There is not that extra expense to justify a price of that of the game. And I think we will be seeing an increase on users on Steam until the end of the year. They already hit I think last year they already hit a huge amount of, I don't know, hundreds of millions of players in Steam, and I think we will see the increase on that because again, even on the handheld market, you got the Steam thingy handheld, I call it Steam Deck, where you just buy the Steam Deck and you just buy the games, install them, and play them. Even on a handheld, it's relatively cheap comparative to a PC, and it's something that you can have access to cheap and good games. Because again, a lot of gaming deals, as I usually do every day, there's always something on a deal, and good games at that. So I think PC will, at least in terms of the Steam, in terms of the games there, and to a certain extent, PC hardware might benefit a little bit from that. But yeah, we'll see how the trend will go. But yeah, this is just at least the first glance is a desperate move to try and make it seem that they are better than Nintendo, but it's basically trying to recoup some or huge amounts of money they are being losing on launching poor games that don't sell, and they will mask this as like the tariffs or the economy or whatever they are going to try and justify that. It's basically trying to recoup money, because even for them it doesn't make a logic sense or common sense to just increase prices all over the place, because you will get less sales out of that. And then last we got yesterday, also late at night at my time zone, Polygon has been sold to Valnet, which is a conglomerate that is acquiring a lot of these sites. And basically, after being acquired, they announced basically layoffs of basically everybody. I think a handful of people are there. I assume more the engineering side of things, because it seems as this Valnet, which interestingly enough is a Canadian media conglomerate, they already acquired GameRant, ScreenRant, the Gamer, and a lot of these shitty sites. Even though they have a couple of them that are still good, at least from what I've been seeing. But yeah, they are acquiring this and basically just optimize these sites for SEO, to get that clicks, for to get some that money from the advertisement there. And again, these sites, it's one of the reasons, the fact that they have to output a lot of um, content without quality, and then the fact that again, this is not journalism, it's basically clickbait. We see this in other sites, from I don't know, from socialites to I don't know, I don't even know the name of the sites because I don't use them. But for example, from the Hollywood stuff, you got always something there. Who's dressing like this, and look at this photo of this and that. Basically it's the same thing but for gaming. And it's a shame, because as a principle I think gaming journalism needs to come back, at least as big outlets as that cover games as journalism uh, seriously. They take journalism seriously and covering the industry, calling out the industry, because that's what journalists should do. They don't they If you are a mouthpiece of the corporations, you stop being a journalism. You're just stenographers for those corporations in terms of the narrative that they want to put out. Journalism serves to go check the facts. If there is something wrong that it's or might be perceived wrong, and it's not good for customers, which in this gamers are customers. They should be called out, these companies, on the some moves they are trying to make, or call out games when they are bad, and to be the more impartial that they can be. Even though, again, I think there is always some space for opinion articles. I don't see an issue with that. But when you put a site which is only putting out opinion articles disguised as journalism, and when all the opinions are basically the same, it's basically mouthpiecing for certain narratives being given. Sometimes we don't even know very well from whom. But again, from Polygon, again, I watched Polygon a lot of years ago, but I stopped checking them out. The same thing with Kotaku and other sites there, because again, they deviated what they were supposed to do from gaming guides, articles reflecting on going deep dives on the games that are being done there, talking to developers, and even, okay, again, creative directors, trying to get information and see what they are trying to cook on their own studios. But yeah, we stopped seeing that for a long time, and I don't feel sorry for this. Again, when you are on that system, it's again, it's a shame, because you're not producing anything properly. You're supposedly corrupting the principles of journalism, and usually that doesn't go well in the long term, and we're seeing some consequences of that behavior of the long term come out. And interestingly enough, all the screenshots here are from Blue Sky Social, which might say a lot here, by the fact that they are all now begging for work, saying that they're all fired from Polygon, from editors in chief to again. I think the jobs that were in place are more about engineering or working on the side of things, the more working, because again, I think the plan for these guys, conglomerates like Valnet, is basically starting putting out more AI content related content regarding games and articles and the such, which is yeah, it's not good. But eventually, these sites will eventually have to shut off, or somebody with some principles and with some money to back this one up and really want to do something good for gaming journalists comes up with an idea and acquiring a couple of these things. But again, the fact that we had seen the decrease in quality and of these gaming sites, which are basically brands to a certain point, I don't see a purpose for them to acquire the brand, because if you have already have a tainted sorry, a tainted brand, I don't think it will take a lot of time for people to come around and start visiting your site again. But yeah, these guys from Valnet already have at least 27 brands under their control. They are rapidly basically consolidating digital media spaces by acquiring more name recognition properties and transform them into click focus engines. Again, it's the same thing, trying to get that advertised money. Interesting enough, I didn't see this. I was not aware of this. Valnet acquired Factor Live that I usually use. Again, I didn't notice so far any kind of decrease in quality of the content. They seem to have the same kind of the team there. Again, I'm not sure if the part of the strategy is to have kind of placeholders in terms of the acquisitions that they made, to have a couple of placeholders that do good content, that because Facts Life users focus a lot on wikis, some news here and there, and game reviews, but usually what they do seems to be very I don't notice any kind of decrease in quality of the work that they're doing there, and hopefully it continues like that. But yeah, I suppose that they will try to keep a couple of sites like this and keep it as they are, to have like a reference point in terms of benchmark, in terms of quality of output. And then basically all the other sites will try to mimic that, just for the clickbait chasing trend there, for the advertisement clicks. But yeah, this is not good. Hopefully, we will see a resurgence on more ethical journalism on the gaming side of things. But yeah, as a principle, I will not cry for this site, not even when Kotaku shuts down, because the Kotaku was one of the first reporting this, and they are basically in the same situation. Uh, I don't cry about that much, because it doesn't add any value. The fact that they are still on air, they don't add any kind of interesting conversations or explore any kind of ideas or the topics that should be explored in gaming journalism. If I think this kind of opinion articles that they were delving into in Polygon and Kotaku and other sites, the gamers and I don't know, there is a lot of sites like this. I think it serves best if you create a brand for the person itself. So going solo, I think it serves best than to try and use a company to be your spotlight and your megaphone there. But yeah, this is where I got here for today. Let's go for some gaming deals. We got Dark Souls franchise is on sale, so 50% off. It's a rare occurrence having for software games on a sale here. So Dark Souls Remastered, Dark Souls 2 Scholars of the First Sin, and then Dark Souls 3. They're all 50% off. On Dark Souls 3, again, Deluxe Edition is the way to go because of the two DLCs, which are, if I can remember, yeah, Ashes of Ariandel and the Ring City. They are excellent additions to Dark Souls 3. Then you got also Deadlight. Again, this is a smaller game, even and I do recommend at this price point. I did a gaming series, I think one of the first ones that I did on the channel of this game, and I do recommend this game. Very interesting. It's a 2D side scroller with some puzzling there, but yeah, the story it's a post-apocalyptic one. But yeah, it's a very interesting, and I do recommend. Then we got also Death Stranding Director's Cut, 50% off. Again, stamp of approval from my part, at least from what I played from the game. Very good. And yeah, it's a Kojima game. Then you got Dead Space franchise is also on sale. I do recommend this one, Dead Space remake, especially at this price point. Again, there's no need for the deluxe edition. I think he only brings like a couple of suits. There is no content there to play with. So at this price point, I can recommend. I did a gaming series on this one. My only nitpick regarding this game is the traversal stuttering, but it's on the part when you go near to the doors to open the door, and basically the game is loading the level, and you encounter some frame time issues here and there. Other than that, the game is fluid enough. Excellent combat, improved lore, immersion there. Again, it gets the feeling. If you play the first one, you'll get kind of the memory of what the game was when it came out. And for that, the original trilogy is also on sale, 60% off on the original one, 80% off on Dead Space 2, which is an excellent follow up. And then Dead Space 3, which is meh, but it's 80% off. I think it might be something good for you to check out there. Then you got Firewatch, very excellent experience. I can recommend this at this price point. It's a narrative experience, first person. I did a gaming series on this one. You can check out the first episode to have an idea what this game is about. But yeah, very interesting experience, and I do recommend it. Then you got Liza P, 40% off, and then we got the other editions there also. Again, one of these games that I really want to try one of these days. I still didn't manage to get into this one. But yeah, it's on my wish list. Then you got Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which is the trilogy with all the DLC and upscale to 4K and all that jazz. It's 90% off, a very decent trilogy. I think it's, if you never played, I think it's worth the price of admission here for you to try out. Then we got Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch remastered, 85% off. Again, JRPG, Ghibli style art there. Again, it's a pretty good game from what I understand there. Then we got Near Automata and Near Replicant. Sorry, I changed the order here. Yeah, Near Replicant. This is the port and remake or remaster of this game, 60% off, and the same thing for Near Automata, 60% off. Got Ori and the Blind Forest. This is the definitive edition, 80% off, excellent feedback, and the same thing for Ori and the Will of the Wisps, 67% off. Then we got also still Resident Evil is still on sale. I will leave all the Resident Evil games on the description below, so you can pick and choose and complete your collection. Then we got the Star Wars Jedi games are also on sale. I can recommend at this discount, 85%, so it's relatively cheap. It's still got some performance issues here and there, but yeah, it's a decent experience. I can recommend at this price point. Yeah, if you're curious, you can check out my first episode of this game. I did a gameplay series of this one. Same thing as I did with Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which is kind of an improvement in all regards. But the only thing that is still there here and there is the lack of optimization, some issues here and there, but not game breaking. Yeah, from what I remember, yeah, not game breaking, but it's an improvement on the gameplay systems. The story maintains the same level, so a decent and more than serviceable story there for the characters, and some evolution from the previous entry. And it's 80% off. Again, I can recommend this at this price point without any issues. And then lastly, we got the Tomb Raider Definitive Survivor Trilogy. Free games, so Tomb Raider, Rise of Tomb Raider, and Shadow of Tomb Raider, the GOTY editions with all the DLC, everything packed together in a nice package, around 80%. I think it's $12 or something like that, the free games, and it's still a pretty more than solid trilogy. I played the first two. I made a series of the second one. I never played the third one. But I will eventually will replay these games and do a gaming series because I did enjoy the at least the gameplay mechanics. The story can be a little bit here and there, but I did enjoy the systems there on the Tomb Raider trilogy. At least the two games that I played from the trilogy. But yeah, I'm going to wrap up here for today with a plug on my Patreon for extra support. This extra support is more aligned for me to, at this moment in time, trying to get a better storage solution so I can have backups of the stuff that I do for my clients, and of course, some extra space for the videos that I do for the channel. And with all that said, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. So until then, Kunami Master out.